listening to BS the podcast with Benny Philhauer and Sal Zizzo. Enjoy.
Do I have to say FC Dallas?
You don't have to. Hey, who's your sleeper pick for Jacksonville?
Don't answer this. Actually, do answer it because I think I'm the pick ahead of Sal. So.
Welcome to BS the podcast. We're on episode 13, and we got a little change of pace this week, Sal.
Yeah, we got our... Well, he did play professional soccer at one point, right? So,
but a different path from there.
Yeah, for sure. Josh Lambo, the kicker for the Jacksonville Jaguars, is our next guest. And we're excited to talk to him with the NFL season kicking off. You know, we're NFL football fans, so we get a little insight into the locker room over there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how his career began, and we'll talk to him about that, how he played in the U17s. He played at the 20s with Ike as well. He became I think he was a GA with Dallas, FC Dallas, and he played there for a few years, and he has some interesting stories there, I'm sure, and we'll ask him about that. And then how he transitioned that into becoming an NFL kicker and being successful at a completely different sport. So I think there'll be a lot of stories that are similar, but I like to hear some of the differences as well, and especially within the locker room dynamic, how different it is from what we're used to.
Yeah, and we'll get in a lot about, we talk a lot about if soccer players would be able to kick in the NFL when their careers are done. And some of the pressure as an NFL kicker, because, in all sports there's pressure, but you'd imagine at the top level of NFL football is the peak you can get to in an American sport. So it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say about that.
Yeah, we'll ask him about all that stuff, and let's not wait any longer. Let's get him on the show. All right, Josh, welcome to the show, man.
Heck yeah, thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you. This is like the first time on the podcast that we have had anybody other than a soccer player. So
yeah,
I consider you kind of a little bit soccer player since you played in your youth days, but obviously now football player.
For up until about maybe 6 months ago, I considered myself a soccer player playing football. But then I was trying to explain the special teams drill to my wife, and I was using these technical terms. She's like, "You sound like a football player." I mean, it took me until my second year in the NFL, so my fifth year playing football, to be able to name all the positions on the football team.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I mean,
that's actually
the only
my
thing
job
like,
is see-ball, kickball.
I feel like the only thing regular fans know nowadays is just fantasy positions. So
right.
Definitely don't know what the play calls. And I've always heard like Gruden, when he used to be on Monday night, he would say banana something like swinging out to the right. And I have no idea what the hell he's talking about. XYZ receivers, all this stuff. So
Omaha.
If you know that, then you're definitely a football player. All right, let's get into some cool questions, some quick hitting questions here.
Yeah.
Your favorite MLS team?
Do I have to say FC Dallas?
You don't have to.
Least favorite.
Can I say FC Dallas?
You can. You can say whatever you want. These are the easy questions.
No, favorite MLS team, I'd say Chicago Fire.
No, that's cool. Are you from Chicago?
Yeah, I grew up in northwest suburbs of Chicago, where like John Spector, Brad Gazan, Michael Bradley, we all kind of grew up.
Mikey Stevens.
Yeah, Mikey Stevens.
Well, you guys, Chicago Fire's had some tough years since those early days, but maybe some better years coming. We'll see. All right, moving on to the next one. Coolest NFL kicker
besides you?
Yeah, I was going to say myself.
Is Morton Anderson still playing?
Probably wants to.
A single one.
Probably Brandon McManus. I think I don't know about the coolest. He's a good dude. I enjoy him thoroughly, but he has some swag now. He's got style.
Oh, really?
That's his thing, his fashion.
I got it.
And he dresses like he's on a red carpet everywhere he goes.
Well, being in Denver, you got to dress nice, as I know, for 4 months. I was hoping you say Justin Tucker. He's my boy. I love the Ravens, so he's our best player over there.
Yeah, and we actually just had the joint practices with the Ravens, and it was awesome getting to work with him.
He's pretty good.
He's not human. He's a freak. Watching him kick for 3 days, up close to him, I mean, it blows my mind. He is not human.
Yeah, the machine, man. He's
like, what makes him stand out? Like, I'm just curious. Like, all we see is, line up, boom, bang it. But like, what makes him stand out that you see that makes you go like, oh,
it's the toe tap.
The thing for me is the consistency. You when you hit a really good strike. I mean, same thing with a soccer ball. When you hit a good strike, you can kind of hear a thud, whereas like a slap if you miss hit it a little bit.
Yeah.
So when you hit that thud, that's the sweet spot of the ball. It's the right spot in your foot. And that's what you want to hear every time. Every now and again, I'll get a slap here, a slap there, or whatever. But Justin Tucker, I did not see him miss hit a ball for 3 days. All of them had the exact same sound, the exact same ball flight. And they were all good from 70 yards because that's honestly where he was practicing from. He was just casually warming up and practicing from 70 yards and making these kicks.
Do most kickers in the NFL, in practice at least, easily go over 60? No problem. Because I know in the game it's different, but
I wouldn't say no.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that. I think, for one, in my opinion, if you're kicking over 60-yard field goals, it's a waste of time because when are you gonna get to do that?
One or twice a season.
For me, for me personally, and it really stemmed from my training and residency. Everything that you do in practice should reflect the game. Yeah. So I'm not going to hit a 60-yard field goal. I'm just not going to. 90% of my kicks, 75% of my kicks are going to be inside of 50. So in practice, I'm going to hit about 75% of my balls from inside of 50 and only hit a few from beyond because that's just not something you do.
Yeah. And I feel like from watching, obviously I'm not the expert here, but from watching, I feel like if you're a kicker that hits a high percentage of field goals from inside the 50, it's not that big a deal if you're missing some from outside of 50.
I like to think of it as you keep your job inside of 50 yards and you make your money outside of 50 yards.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. All right, moving on. MLS player that you still talk to regularly.
Probably Breck Shea.
Yes. Give me.
I mean, it's honestly, it's a little strange. I think I actually talked to his mom more than I talked to him because KB, she's a yoga teacher at Texas A&M. So when I went to school there, when Dallas released me, I actually lived with him for 3 months, and then I took my yoga class from her my senior year, and she's like a second mom to me. KB is awesome, but. I keep up with Breck every now and again. I hit him up after his injury. And, I guess maybe former MLS player Jared Jeffrey. I think he just retired, right?
I'm not sure, actually.
Is that the one? Did he play at DC?
From DC United?
Yeah. I didn't know he retired. I just thought he moved on somewhere else. But
yeah, he was my closest friend that I made in soccer for a long time.
Nice.
With Breck, you lived with them your FC Dallas years, didn't you? Or the first year?
Crazy? So we got drafted together. He was second overall. I think I was eighth, and we moved in together our rookie year. And we signed a 12-month lease, and I was out of there in 10 months because I just couldn't deal with it.
We got to get him on the podcast. This guy's a nut job. I love Breck, but I'll
tell you what, though, he is one heck of a ping pong player. We had a ping pong table in our apartment, and that's just all we did. He is nasty.
We should set him up with Patrick Vieira then. Josh, you wouldn't know this, but Patrick Vieira, apparently, we had Sean Johnson on, and he had a pretty epic game against Patrick Vieira at one point, ping pong. So Breck Shea against Patrick Vieira for the championship.
There it is.
Yeah, I've got some Breck Shea stories. He was my roommate for the 20s.
You probably have more than I do, man.
Oh, I got a ton, but I'll let him come on the podcast. Maybe we got to get him on, and then we'll blow a spot up. But.
All right. Next question. Biggest MLS fan that you know in the NFL?
Ooh. Honestly, probably the first person that comes to mind is my equipment guy, Jimmy Luck.
Why he just watches a lot of MLS, or just asks you a lot of questions?
He's a soccer fan, and I mean he's worked with guys like Jesse Biggs, throughout U.S. soccer events, and so he's just become a fan of the sport. And he's the first person that came to mind.
Yeah.
Needless to say, there's not too many NFL players that are fans.
No, actually, no, that's not true. One of my tight ends, I was telling him about all the top 10 Zlatan quotes.
Right.
And he's like, this guy is the coolest person ever.
So not an MLS fan, but a Zlatan fan. We'll take
Zlatan.
it.
Do a lot of the kickers have background in soccer? I feel like they do, right?
At one point or another, yeah. No one had
kids.
played past college.
Okay.
Or past high school. Really.
Yeah.
So I'm the only person to cross over from MLS to NFL, but I think Tony Meola, during a lockout here in the MLS, he had a hand with
the Jets,
Giants.
Right? Was it Giants?
Jets or Giants? One of the two.
Yeah.
And he played in preseason, I think, but obviously didn't make the roster.
All right, last question is a little bit of a joke, but kind of serious as well. Does it really matter if the laces are in?
Oh God, yeah, big time.
Really?
Big time. Oh, dude, you have no idea. Just imagine, as you're looking at a football, your target, the field goal that way, is 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
So if you have anything other than 12, even if my snapper snaps it, and as my holder grabs it, if he catches it at 9 o'clock and then has to spin it, that's a nightmare for everybody involved.
Really?
I mean,
but I feel like
my snapper
they spin. I feel like they spin it all the time though to get the laces off the front of the ball, right?
Because it's that big of a deal,
right? What is it like? It actually messes up where you kick it on the ball. Is that what it is?
A little bit of that, a little bit of aerodynamics.
Yeah, as it's in the air,
even just pure science. Yeah, if ball's going north and south, but the ball's wider east and west and kind of rotating this way, it's going to be. Somehow a moth just flew out. I think I just did magic. It is aerodynamic. So if it's north and south and going end over end this way,
right,
the extra width isn't getting affected by the wind.
Got it.
Also, you're always used to hitting the back seam where the back two panels meet, and then if you hit something thicker and firmer that's kind of bumpy on perhaps even a different part of your foot, it's just the whole contact is going to be off and it's going to come off funny. I mean, it's like putting a few different bumps on a soccer ball and trying to hit a pure ball. It's just not going to happen.
No, that makes sense. I feel like Ray Finkel was right to take revenge on Dan Marino then. All right, well, that's all for the quick hitting questions. We'll start the main interview. And honestly, the first thing...
Sorry, those weren't so quick. Those are the longest quick hitting questions ever. Well,
that's fine because Sal and Ike had some side tangents that we got on.
Sidebar.
Yeah, sidebar. So we'll move on to the main interview part. And I wanted to start with just asking you kind of your story getting into the NFL. Obviously, like we talked about before, you played with Dallas, you played on some youth national teams, you played with Ike on the 20s. So just take us through kind of quick or not so quick, but your story of getting into the NFL.
Yeah. So I got invited to the U17 residency program down in Bradenton when I was 14. I was the first goalkeeper there for the 90s group. And, Josie was there. Mikey Bradley was there. Eric Lehigh was there. So it was a cool group of dudes. Anyways, so I was there for 2.5 years, got picked up by FC Dallas right after I graduated from residency. My first reserve game, I ended up breaking my jaw. I slid down for a through ball, and whoever it was for Chivas USA reserves, he slid in, hit me so hard on this side as I went down to swallow the ball that my other side of my face cracked. So I was cracked on both sides of my jaw. Yeah. So by the time I got healthy again, we had released the coach that drafted me in 8th overall for a 17-year-old goalkeeper. It was pretty bold at that time. I was the youngest goalkeeper drafted.
Yeah.
And so Shellis Heineman then got hired on and just really never gave me a shot, to be honest with you. And so at that point, I was 4 years into my Generation Diaz contract, and I still hadn't actually started an official MLS game. and I haven't been playing regular games. Reserve league wasn't much back then. And I think all the other coaches were like, well, I'd rather just maybe bring up an academy kid who's consistently been playing, or let me gamble on a college kid who's been playing for 3 years or whatever, but he's still getting 90 minutes. And so no one really wanted to take a chance on me. After that, I had a trial with Sheffield United, with DC United. Neither one worked. And thankfully, my last 2 years in the MLS, actually 1 year I was on loan with the Tampa Bay Rowdies. So I got an associate's degree in my last 2 years playing soccer. And so I'm like, okay, well, soccer's done. It's out of the picture. I need to go back, get a 4-year education, and so I can get, a big boy job. And so I told my mom that plan, and she said, well, if you're going to go back to college, why don't you learn how to kick field goals and come home and live with your mother and kick for the Badgers? She was living in Madison, Wisconsin. And I said, all right, why not? Let's do it. And so I reached out to a buddy of my brother's. He played soccer at Wisconsin. So my brother Zach knew the kicker at the time, Taylor Melhoff. And so we got connected, and he taught me how to kick over a summer. And so we started that in May of 2012. And then in September, I was on at Texas A&M.
And was that a walk-on,
ridiculous.
Or was that okay? Okay.
Yeah, I did a walk-on deal. I mean, I'd never played football. I never wore pads or a helmet. Like, I was just hoping that this was going to get me into a good school. Like, okay, I'll sit and be a backup for however long, whatever, and I get to graduate and everything will be great.
Yeah.
And then my second year, I got in halfway through a game because the other kicker was missing, and kept my job for the rest of that year. Started my senior season. Did well enough to go to the combine, which is kind of rare for a kicker. They usually only have 4 or 5 kickers that go. So that was awesome. I went to San Diego with the Chargers as an undrafted free agent, and luckily beat out the veteran Nick Novak. And I was in San Diego for 2 years, got released, got picked up by Jacksonville 2017, and just signed a new 4-year extension here with the Jags. So I'll be here for a while.
Nice. I saw that. Congratulations.
That's an amazing story. So how long would it take? Yeah, I know. How long would it take? Okay. A guy that can kick field goals in soccer, right? How long would it take an average MLS player to really learn how to kick field goals to maybe take it to another level? Or do you think it's still a rare and hard thing to do?
So I think the hardest thing with something like that, to answer your question, I could teach a soccer player how to hit a good field goal in a weekend. Okay. To be honest, but then it's the consistency, it's the tweaking things. And the hard thing about that is most NFL teams aren't going to trust a guy that has never done it before.
Okay.
I only, in my 1.5 seasons as a starter at Texas A&M, I only had like 24 field goals. Okay. Which is not very much. I mean, in the NFL, you're probably getting over 30. Yeah. In one season. So I had a season and a half. I only had 24. When I went to the combine, some of these coaches were actually grilling me. Like, you only have 24 kicks. Some of these other kickers have 24 kicks in a season, and they've been starters for 4 years. And why would we take a chance on you?
And you were like, watch this, and you just banged in a few for the 70s. That's why.
Do you remember you could kick a goal kick so far, and we'd always make jokes like, Josh, you should be a field goal kicker. What are you doing? Fast forward, whatever it was, 5-6 years, you're kicking at Texas A&M, and then now in the NFL. Was that seed planted in your brain because of us, or because?
Are you trying to get like a finder's fee or something? Or otherwise, I'm not going to admit to it.
You just signed a new extension, you said, so I wouldn't mind about a quarter, of a
percent. What an agent makes.
Yeah, just a little percent.
I'll give you a quarter, an actual quarter.
A quarter of a dollar,
like a quarter of $1 American US dollar.
Okay. Well, Venmo's
otherwise known as 25 cents.
Okay. Will you give him credit for planting that seed in your head?
It wasn't just me. I can't. I'm sure a lot of people said it to him, but I was a part of a large pack that was trying to tell Lambo that his future was not in soccer, which I guess could be an insult.
That's rude, dude.
Here's a question though. So if you said you could teach a soccer player at least how to kick a field goal in terms of technique or whatever, what would be the number one talent that a soccer player needs to have to become a good field goal kicker? Is it power
that they don't have? Maybe
no, that they do have. So like if somebody that can kick the ball really far or somebody that can hit it really accurately, because what is it? What do you think it is, Josh?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's power because, I mean, any MLS player is going to be able to hit a 55-yard field goal. Yeah. It's just fact. Once you have proper technique and everything like that, even not. I mean, if you give every MLS player 3 kicks, one of them from 55 will go in. I would.
Josh, check out my Instagram. I got a 55-yarder, no problem.
Oh God, Sal.
Yeah, well, so does Carly Lloyd. So.
Yeah, but hey, I didn't have 10 steps leading up to it. All right, mine was the kicker 2-step banger. So
that's the other thing, dude. That's where I think it would be difficult because if you're taking a free kick or even like a penalty, you probably got at least 5, 6, 7 steps. Where in the NFL, you got to take 2.5 steps. If it's
max.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and you got to get the timing down and all that stuff. So I think that would be difficult. Like for me to be able to get
it's not as hard as you think though, Benny, but yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, from snap to kick, it's in the NFL, it needs to be less than 1.3 seconds.
Right.
So that stuff just happens in a blink.
You're already starting your run, but right as it snapped, you started moving already, right?
Yeah, so if I'm the holder, my fingers are down where the spot is, so kicker knows where it is. When his bottom hand comes up and flashes,
that's when you go.
That's the signal for long snapper to snap it back. But then as his bottom hand comes up to meet the ball, that's my cue to go.
Okay,
got it.
So when that bottom hand leaves to catch the ball, I know it's on its way. That's when I'm going.
Josh, I got a couple of things. The first one being, how much more intimidating, or which is more intimidating, like walking into an MLS locker room at 17 or walking into, a football locker room, never having worn pads, probably unsure if you're putting it on correctly. You know what I mean? Just like
it was pretty definitively, I can say, FC Dallas.
Really?
Because I was 17, and obviously being a goalkeeper, you're essentially the keeper of the goal. That's probably why they call it a goalkeeper. Anyways, sorry, I don't know why that just happened. Like you have defenders, you have guys like, rest of soul, Bobby Ryan, who was like 32, 33 as a defender. And I have to make sure that ball doesn't get past me so that he can continue to feed his family.
Right.
Like that stuff hit real hard, real fast for me. And so that really made me learn how to be a good pro from an early age. I had guys like Drew Moore, Kenny Cooper, Marcelo Zaragoza.
Kenny Cooper, the nicest guy on the planet.
Oh, he yeah, absolutely. Like without a doubt. I don't think anyone would argue that. The second nicest person in the world would not argue that.
Yeah.
So I think that was just really it made me grow up really fast because it wasn't just okay, you'll get cut or you could get somebody else cut or you might lose a game. It's like this is literally people's livelihoods. It's how they pay for their lives, for their families, and like that was a real thing. That was super intimidating.
And then you have Shellis Hyman, intimidating, staring at.
I knew you were going to go there, so I was going to say, I know Ike wants to talk about some stories with Shellis, so go ahead, Ike. Ask what you want to ask.
Was Shellis the one that cut you?
Yes. So
that must have been a kick in the nuts. No pun intended.
Well, the weird thing about it, I guess I don't really have any issue sharing the story now. I don't know if I've ever talked about it publicly, but so it was Kevin Hartman, Chris Seitz, and me. And it was before the rosters got bumped up to 28 or whatever it was. I think it was still at 21 or 24. So they only wanted 2 goalkeepers. They weren't going to pick up my 5th-year contract. on my GA deal, but they did want to keep me as the backup to kind of restructure things. So they wanted to keep me and Hartman. But Sightsy was about to be a free agent as well. So they wanted to sign Sight because they had a for sure trade lined up for him, so they could actually get something out of him rather than just letting him go. So they re-signed him. That for sure trade fell through, and they were stuck with him on the roster. And so I was off the roster, and they were like, well, sorry. And so that's really how I got released, is this big old cluster.
So it's Sites'
like
fault.
Lies and
So you
sure.
owe Sites all your NFL earnings.
Or
Or the GM that the trade fell through on.
But yeah, you got to go to college.
Was it Fernando Clavillo? Was he the GM?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, it was, tall, strawberry blonde guy. I can't think of his name.
I'm not going to know this. Ike, you're the only. I'm not going to know MLS pre when I
One of
was
the
here.
Hunts,
Pre
maybe?
you came in.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, Hunt's are the owners.
I don't know.
Yeah, gosh, I don't remember his name. Anyways, clearly he left an impression on my life.
Well, give me your best Shallow story.
God, it's not necessarily something that he did, but the first thing that comes to mind is Daniel Hernandez was our captain, and it was Shellis's birthday one day, and so he made some, hey, Shellis, you coaches go out to the field, I want to have like a players only team meeting. So they all go, and he busts out a bunch of diapers and like headbands and stuff, and because he was old, and he's a black belt. And so we all, as a team, walked out onto the field wearing diapers and like headbands, doing karate moves. And that's how we said happy birthday to him.
I don't know if knowing Shellis, I don't know if he was insulted, offended, or if he thought it was funny. But
oh God, you never knew it, that guy.
Yeah.
He was a different cat, man.
Hey Josh, I got a question for you. So
What's up?
You played both sports. I've always been curious at the dynamic inside the locker room for NFL teams. I mean, there's 50 plus players on the roster, plus there's the practice team. So there's so many players. Is it very, there are little cliques everywhere, or do you legit get to talk to everybody and know everybody pretty well, or how does it work? I mean, it's so many people.
It's it's a lot. I mean, right now in camp we have 90. So for the whole off season up until final cuts, you have 90 guys. Then it gets whittled down to 53, first team roster, and then we got 10 guys on practice squad. It is definitely difficult, and not just because of the size, but it's like most teams, they'll start the day off with a special teams meeting because that includes offense and defense, and then O and D split up to just pure offense, pure defense, and then the position groups split up after that. And so they are just always constantly in meetings with each other. Yeah. And as a specialist, you might watch the film from yesterday's practice or from the game and just to break down your own personal technique. And then that's it. You don't have other meetings. You don't have install. You don't have any other, new plays to worry about. If it is, hey, we're going to do an onside kick this direction instead of that direction. It's okay, got it. And so
you live a great life is what you're saying.
Well, I wish I would have been a kicker about 20 years ago, because then I could leave at noon and go to the golf course, because that was a real thing that happened.
Yeah, really. That was good. That was going to be my next question, because of, we watch Hard Knocks and all those shows that are on TV, All or Nothing, and so you see all those, like you're saying, those meetings. But there's, like you said, there's only so much you can. What are you going to do as a kicker? Maybe you can do a fake field goal or a fake punt if you're a punter, or like you said, onside kick or whatever, but there's only so much you can, do on video. It's not like you're the quarterback or a defensive player where you can read what the other team does, all that stuff. So, yeah. And going one further than that, my question is in practice as well, when you guys are actually out on the training field, it feels like it's very segregated in terms of offense, defense, special teams. Are you guys just off to the side kicking field goals the entire training session?
So definitely not the entire training session. It's you kind of treat being a specialist a bit like being a pitcher. You always want to have a pitch count. You can't go every day, and so our schedule So a typical NFL week, play on Sunday. You come in Monday for meetings, film, and a quick lift, maybe some recovery stuff, and then Tuesday off. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are your practice days. Saturday's a walkthrough, game on Sunday. So of the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I don't kick on Wednesday. I'll do kickoffs and field goals on Thursday. And I'll do like a small set of field goals and like specialty kicks, onside kicks, pop-up kicks. Like if it's a kickoff after a 15-yard penalty, you're going from the 50-yard line. You don't want to hit a touchback in that situation because then you only net 25 yards. You want to try and pop it up, land it on the goal line, tackle them inside the 25 to really take advantage of that penalty. And so, no, to answer your question, we don't just kick all day. My punter, he'll hit punts on Wednesday. He won't work on Thursday. He'll hit punts again on Friday.
Is that your decision?
It has to do with what day of the week it's like we have our punt team and we have our punt team practice on Wednesday. Okay. We have kickoff on Thursday. And Friday's back to punt. And so it just lines up with what we have, what team sessions we have.
Okay. And you don't have a kicking personal coach, right? On the team?
No, we don't. There are a few teams that have like an actual specialist coach. So, because obviously we all have special teams coordinators.
Yes.
But they are special teams coordinators because of the schemes of punt return,
really
kickoff,
know
kickoff return.
Yeah, they don't know like the art of kicking.
Most of them don't. Some guys know some. There are a few teams that actually have a specialist coach. The Ravens do with Tucker. I think the Rams don't, but their special teams coordinator is actually very good with specialists. My special teams coordinator, tall, skinny, bald guy. Yeah. Bones. So my special teams coordinator, this is literally his 31st year in the NFL. And so he's been around everything. He's seen everything, and he's been a special teams coordinator for God knows how many of those years. And he's had some really good guys, and so he understands more than most special teams coaches just because he's been around so many guys that have done really well.
Yeah.
Got it. One more question for you here. How good are the Jags going to be this year? You guys had you were there. Your first year there was last year?
2017. So when we went to the AFC Championship.
So you guys had a ridiculously good defense that year.
Yeah.
And your offense kind of played off of that, I thought, a little bit. And then last year, for whatever reason, the defense wasn't nearly as good. So are you guys going to come back to being the old Jags, or what's your thoughts for this year for Jacksonville?
Well, even in terms of what you said last year, it wasn't that our defense wasn't lights out. It's just our offense couldn't really move the ball. I mean, there were 3 games in a row where I didn't even have a field goal attempt.
Yeah.
We just weren't scoring. So I think our defense was still, even statistically, you can go back and look, and our defense was actually really still strong last year.
Yeah.
We just couldn't put up more points than the opponents. But this year, man, I'm really excited about the season. Squad's looking really strong. Nick Foles is the real deal.
Yeah. Nice.
You can see why this guy was a Super Bowl MVP.
Nice. That's good to hear.
On the field as well as off the field. He's just a really, really good dude. An awesome guy to be around. He's never too busy for you. He gave me a ride home the other day, and it's just like he's genuinely a really, really good person. I'm excited to have him, lead this team this year.
Well, you don't have to see Andy Luck twice. So,
that's such a big shock, dude. So my agent is actually his uncle.
Oh,
okay.
So I'm with Wasserman Media Group. Are you guys with Rich or Dan?
Yeah. No, I know Rich pretty well though.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
I know.
So I was with WMG with Dan Siegel as a soccer player, and my agent Will Wilson, when he was working, I think, for MLS at the time, and doing all the international stuff. The big international series during the summer, I think he had a pretty big hand in that. And, anyways, so Andrew is his nephew. He's coming out of Stanford, and he says, "Hey, Will, I would like you to drop what you're doing, become NFL PA certified, and become my agent." And
Why not? He could live just off his salary, so he's good.
When your nephew is literally guaranteed to be the first pick,
Yeah.
like I would say that's gonna be a pretty fruitful venture.
Yeah.
And so he had a relationship with Casey Wasserman, so they merged there. Where are we going with this?
We were just talking about Andrew Luck retiring.
So I was talking with Will. I was talking with Will, my agent. I'm like, dude, sorry that your family's going through that. That's a weird thing. You know, I hope all the best for Andrew. But, you know, all these fans getting upset and everything, it's so bothersome because if you were a janitor and you made $59 million by the time you were 29 and retired, would anyone cry boo-hoo about that?
No,
I mean the whole.
I think it's easy for us to see where he's coming from. As athletes, I think it's pretty easy to see where he's coming from, and it's the casual fan 100%. That really would never be in that position and doesn't know what it's like to feel the pressure or go through injuries or whatever. You know what I mean?
It's absurd.
But we all know, like, the human body was not built to do anything that any sport requires of us.
No,
it takes such a physical toll on our bodies. And this guy's literally getting hit.
Man. Yeah.
And this guy's getting hit and buried and driven into the ground by some of the best athletes in the world. Like, and he did that for a lot of years.
And his dad, was it president of the Houston Dynamo back in the day or vice president?
Yes. And then he went on to head up the
West
NCAA.
Virginia, right?
And
West Virginia,
yeah.
I think he went to. Yeah.
And now he's the commissioner of the XFL.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
XFL, it's back?
Kind of, right? I don't know.
They still doing coin tosses by running to the ball and whoever gets it first?
I don't know. He hate me.
They just released eight teams, names and logos and all that stuff.
Oh, okay. That should be interesting.
My agency actually, because of the relationship with Will and his, obviously Andrew's dad is with the XFL. They reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you guys have any like former soccer players that were like a little bit more high profile that might consider kicking in the XFL?"
Nope, not me.
Right here, Josh.
You're looking at him, Josh. Josh, you're looking at him, bro. I retired.
Sal will go to the prison league before he continues his ventures out in Las Vegas. But and I'll let you know. I'll be retired in a couple of years. I'll let you know, Josh. I'm going to text you.
Benny, you can't on the kickoffs. If someone's taking one back, you've got to kind of like make a move and tackle them.
I've seen some of these kickers, how hard they don't
they
try.
look so unathletic,
They run
bro.
straight out of bounds. They like let them run by and give them the fake dive. That's got to be you, Lambo, for sure.
Those guys are scary, man. When they're running full speed at you, dude, you want nothing to do with them. I've probably made, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 tackles.
You're a big boy, though, bro.
That's actually
you're a big guy.
And not compared to an NFL running back.
No, but Benny, compared to me and you, bro, we would get crushed. We would get crushed. The amount of weights we do, which is 0, we would get demolished.
I'd be looking for that, clip him, just like clip his heel, let him run past him and clip his heel.
That's a real technique, man.
That's what I'd be looking for.
Like we practice that technique.
Yeah, there you go.
The problem is you're going to try to dive and you're going to catch a knee to the face. So
that's true.
I probably made probably 5 tackles, and I think 4 of them have been solo tackles, and I slide tackled every time. I should have gotten the flag on every single one.
Tripping.
They're probably like, stupid kicker.
You did the slide and the grab of the waist.
So I had one game. I think it was my rookie season. I mean, I used to get so amped on kickoff, and I still do. I talk a lot of smack on kickoff, which I have no business doing.
Let's go. It's out of bounds.
And it actually got me a bruised tailbone in a game this last year against the Colts. But I can finish that story later. So I was still playing for the Chargers. I don't remember who we were playing, but for this particular team, the new rule, the touchbacks went to the 25 instead of the 20. So a lot of NFL coaches so I guess it was my rookie year. So a lot of coaches were like, okay, well, I think we can tackle it. Like the average return was to like the 22 prior to that. And so like, okay, well, let's make them return it. So drop it on the goal line 1 yard deep. And statistics say we should be able to tackle them inside of that. We gain hidden yardage. And so I hit a ball. I mean, beautiful height, beautiful direction, like half a yard deep. And this piece of crap returner took a knee. And I was so mad. And I went down there. I was cussing at him. I was like, 15, you scared. You're scared to take that out. Just like being stupid.
Can we know who 15 was, please?
We could probably look it up. I don't know what team it was, but it wasn't that.
You were on
Devin Hester. It was Devin Hester.
It may have been.
No chance.
And honestly, the ref comes over to me and says, hey, kicker, get over here. And I'm trying to like ignore him. And my special teams captain's like, no, Josh, you got to go. He's like, hey, you got to cut that baloney out. You got to cut that baloney out. You can't be talking like that. You're a kicker. You're over here. You make one play a game. You're out here causing all this trouble.
You and Marquise King are just special teams legends here. Trash talk.
Marquette. Oh, dude, that's a different cat, man.
Marquise King's funny, man.
All right, Ike. Let's hear your interrogation part.
Is this the plead the fifth?
Yeah, this
section?
is.
So you're on the hot seat. It's called Ike's interrogation. Go ahead, plead the fifth. 5 questions. You're on.
Yeah. Okay. So the game is plead the fifth. You answer all 5. You can ask any question to one of us that we must answer.
Okay.
So starting right off the bat, who's the worst kicker in the NFL?
Oh boy. You know this.
Who's the worst kicker in the NFL?
This is like they have a brotherhood, dude. They can't do that.
You should plead the fifth on this one. I came right out the gates because I want you to plead the fifth.
Then we can hold on. I can work. You know what? This was your mistake. You should have had this interview after the first round of cuts. After final cuts were made, because technically there are a bunch of kickers in the NFL.
No.
At the moment.
Okay.
Hey, dude. You want to talk about plead the fifth and lawyer talk?
No. You know what I meant.
I'll bury you.
You know what I meant.
I know what you meant. I don't care about what you meant.
The worst starting kicker.
That still currently has a job in the NFL. The national.
Who do I not like?
You basically got to pick who you don't like.
There is one particular person that I don't like. I don't want to talk about it because I feel like that's unprofessional.
So we got him, boys. All right.
I promise the NFL players are going to listen to our podcast as much as we're getting famous. But
it's going to be the headline news.
I want to get that one out of the way.
You know what? You know what? You know who's the worst kicker in the NFL? Josh Lambo.
No.
There's an answer. No. Deal with it. Come on, man.
Moving on.
Nice try. Plead the fifth, because that wasn't a real answer.
That's a plead. You know the game.
I'll plead the fifth. I will be a good pro, and I will be a good kicker within our community.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed.
I promise
Josh.
to be nicer moving forward, but I have to ask this second question: do the Patriots cheat?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all.
Just like the Jaguars and the Bears and the Dolphins and the 49ers and the Texans and the Cowboys and all the rest of them. Everybody cheats.
No, yes, but you know what I mean. It's common knowledge.
You ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Listen, but yes, they cheat.
Oh man,
1,000%.
All right, this is going to be an inter sports question.
Okay.
Rank these head coaches from first to worst. It could be your relationship. It could be tactics, schemes, whatever. But from Doug Marrone to Mike McCoy and Shellis Heineman.
Doug Marrone, Mike McCoy, Shellis. Pretty easy.
That was pretty easy. I think that was straightforward.
Can I ask why? Well, Shellis, I know, I'm sure, but Doug Marrone, why you rate him as your first?
So Doug he's the kind of coach that you genuinely want to play for. I think he's fair. I think he's consistent. And I think he's a good encourager. I think he's willing to work with guys without compromising his morals. And he hasn't fired me. So
There we go.
I guess the other two did. So
Yeah.
process of elimination. All right, fair. All right, this is a fan question. Who's the better commissioner between Roger Goodell or Don Garber?
oh my gosh. Come on.
He stumped him, Mike. That one's a bad one.
I gotta get the fan questions handled for this one. I don't know who did this or who suggested it, but
Gosh. Who's the better one?
Or who's the worst if you'd rather answer it in that fashion?
I would. I don't know about better, but I would say. I would say Goodell is better simply because he has so much more notoriety to deal with.
Yeah.
It's something. There's always a hot topic in the NFL every week if it doesn't go on for months at a time. And if there's an issue in the NFL, his picture is right alongside it and in the papers. And is at the moment, more teams. If the MLS keeps on expanding, who knows, man? I think it's a more difficult job, so I'd give the upper hand to my current commissioner.
it seemed like you didn't want to answer it, but I'll accept it. Good answer though. And then this is a fair question in terms of and you can take it for whether it be atmosphere or just straight up amenities. But what's the worst NFL and worst MLS stadium that you played in?
Worst NFL stadium is Coliseum in Oakland. That is a piece of trash.
Qualcomm's not great either, though, right?
Qualcomm is a very near second.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah, the queue is
it's outdated.
The worst MLS?
Buckshaw. It's got to be Buckshaw. That you played in or that you saw. So obviously you didn't see. Well, actually,
in terms of facilities, DC. They played in RFK.
I liked RFK. Is that
the
weird?
food wasn't bad, but everything else was.
I like the history behind it, and I don't know. I did
stepping out of the dugout,
from the locker room to the field, and you have to walk through the
puddles,
flooded swamp area. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you walk down and up.
Through the dugout and all that. I kind of liked
the old wood.
Terrible.
I did. It brought the
You're a
girl.
strange person. I actually didn't mind Buckshot. When you said Buckshot, I actually thought it was kind of not cool, but just funny almost. Walking all the way from the basketball courts to the field through all the fans.
Bro, that's like a half a mile walk and or maybe even longer. And when you've got to, take a dump after the game and sprint back to your locker room, it is like the worst.
Who needs to take a dump after the game?
There was several guys that barely made it. I may or may not have been one of them.
The only thing I would say about that long walk is that as soon as you're back in for halftime, you're already back out. But that's the same in Dallas because you got to walk 3 flights of stairs.
The old Dallas. They've changed it now. But that was brutal.
They changed it?
Oh, have they really?
That's the only Dallas I know.
Anymore?
No, it's on the new locker rooms behind behind the other opposite
We haven't
goal.
played there yet this year.
Yeah.
So because of the Hall of Fame?
Correct.
Got it.
So the lockers on the street side now?
Yeah, but they've made the Hall of Fame and
I haven't been back to Frisco in years. I've probably been back to Frisco since 2012.
Yeah, I would recommend to not go during the summer, as you know.
Dude, I live in Jacksonville, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't get much worse.
That's true.
That's true.
Duval, baby. Duval County.
Duval County.
Is that it for the questions?
There's a big old picture of Josie in a national team kit plastered up on one of the walls inside our stadium.
Has that been there for 7 years? Or when was the last time that you guys were there in Tampa or in Jacksonville?
Well, he's from Florida.
He's just hometown guy, I think. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He's from where's he
he's from Florida. What's that place
I think
called?
it's South Florida.
That's what I thought. Jacksonville's
called?
Key West. He's from Key West.
No.
I'm sure he wishes he was.
Was it by Cocoa Beach and stuff? Maybe that area?
Boca Raton, I think. He's from Boca.
Boca. There you
Raton.
go. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
I know this isn't. I have a question, even though it's not one of the hard hitting ones. But I've always when NFL signs new players, and you said so yourself. By the way, my mic was muted when you said that, and I said congratulations to your new 4-year deal. But what I was going to ask is, you guys, all players get a 4-year deal, and I don't remember what it was. I think it was like 16, right? $16 million. They never say the guaranteed money though, right? So do you have guaranteed
occasionally?
years?
I think, mine does. You could find my guaranteed pretty easily.
But do you have like guaranteed years, or because I feel like kickers are the craziest position, because you guys have 1 or 2 bad games and then you're cut. Right.
So that's where it's always a gamble to give a kicker a big contract, because if you do cut him, you're still paying him regardless.
The full contract.
The guaranteed money.
Okay, got it.
So, and that's why a lot of times, because they don't want to give kickers like all of the money right up front, that they're going to disperse it. So signing bonus, everything even gets dispersed. So my guaranteed money, X amount was guaranteed this year, and I had X amount guaranteed next year. Yeah, so that gives the team incentive to keep the kicker while he has guaranteed money, because they're going to pay him anyways. So I have nothing guaranteed in the 3rd and 4th year of my contract. So then if they want to cut me before the regular season starts, they don't owe me $1.
As a kicker, I feel like it seems like the hardest thing is the mental aspect, right? Because it's like you said, if you kick 100 kicks in practice throughout the week and you hit, let's say, 90 of them, you're a 90% kicker. I mean, you hit so many field goals, and in games you're a 90% kicker, but then maybe you have one really bad game where you just miss 3 or 4, and maybe you cost the team the game or something at the end. And then it's hard to get that mentality back. So one, how is that to go through? And then the other question, it would be, if you do get a contract like yours where you have, those 2 years now guaranteed, does that help in that sense, that mentality of, okay, even if I miss one, it's not like next week I could get cut?
Mm-hmm. So I think the mentality portion of it is, I think being a goalkeeper really helped me with that. Because you have to have this, I've developed this go 1-for-1 mentality. Because, even my goalkeeper coach in residency, he's like, hey, don't oversave the save. Just make the save that's presented to you. If it's right at you, don't do all these funny acrobatics to make it look cool. Just do what's in front of you. And so it's the same thing with being a kicker. I can't sit there before the game and say, oh, I'm going to go 100% this game, or I'm going to go 4 for 4 this game, and 3 of them are going to be from beyond 50, because you don't know what's actually coming your way.
Right.
So regardless of my last 50 kicks, if I've made them or missed them, it has no bearing on the next kick.
Yeah.
And so go. If I go 1-for-1 every single time, then I know I'm going to have a damn high percentage at the end of the year. I'm going to put my team in the best opportunity to win. And I'm just going to do my job. That's essentially what it is. So
it's like the mentality of a golfer. Hit a bad shot, you got to hit a good one the next time.
Exactly. In one of the, I think Vinatieri hit a game winner in 2 Super Bowls, but in one of the Super Bowls, he missed 3 kicks throughout the game. Nobody remembers that, because he made the one that really truly counted at the end. That's the one that put him over the top, and time was expired. So that's the mentality portion. Is the most important kick is the next kick.
Yeah.
And so that's how I personally deal with that.
Yeah, it's funny that you commented about your goalie mentality that you brought on, because I feel like if I were to compare it, it's very similar to one of the best strikers in soccer, because you miss chances, but if you're able to just put that behind you and then score the next one, no one's worried about what you did, a minute ago. So
for sure,
I guess it's probably similar to the kickers. If you miss one, you're not even worrying about that anymore, and you're already focused on the next one.
Yeah, the most important thing is just assess what went wrong and fix it for the next one.
Nice. Anybody else got any more questions?
It's good. You touched on the pressure. I was going to ask him about that, but that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, people ask me, how do you handle the nerves, the pressure, whatever? One thing that Kevin Sumlin, my head coach at Texas A&M, said that has always stuck with me. He said, nervousness is for the unprepared. And so I took that as, okay, if I'm doing Monday through Saturday the right way, Sunday is going to be easy. Like that's the same thing with residency. They tried to make training so hard for us that the games were the fun part. The game was the easy bit because we just went through every single scenario 1,000 times over in practice. I was in such a rhythm and such a groove in 2017 when we went to the championship. I honestly, it sounds immensely cocky, but I would get offended that they would make me go out to actually kick the field goal. So I'm like, this son of a bitch is going right down the middle. Like, I know where this ball is going. Why are we wasting time? Just put 3 points up on the board and let's carry on.
That's a good confidence to have as an NFL
confident.
Kicker.
Our first series in the third quarter, at Gillette Stadium, 54-yard field goal in the middle of the field, which is difficult because there's no direct spot for the holder to put the ball down to. Banged it home. That was one of the best kicks of my life. And I just felt so good about it. And I think I'm the second player to hit a 50-plus yard field goal in the AFC Championship and the second player to hit a 50-plus yard field goal at Gillette Stadium.
Nice.
In the playoffs. I was just, you got to have such a confidence going into every kick. I kick off better going to the right. I struggle a little bit going to the left. And our game this last week in Miami, I told my coach I wanted to go left. And he wants a direction to go outside of the number. So it's in, pretty far in the corner. Mm-hmm. And he's like, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'll get it over there. And I hit it and it was like dead in the middle of the field. He's like, what happened? I'm like, I thought I was going to get it over there. Like I genuinely in my heart thought that I was going to be able to perform that kick. But that's how you have to go into every single
Your coach got to
kick.
respect that confidence, though. At least I'd rather have a player like that than one's questioning what he's doing every time.
Is Gillette always windy? Just like when you play soccer there? Playing soccer?
It actually wasn't bad. Somehow it was, the second or third week in January and it was like 50 degrees. It was amazing.
Really? Yeah, it's like the windiest field ever in MLS. It's terrible.
Yeah. Colorado is always tough for me to judge ball flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like Colorado with the altitude, you guys can bang 55 yarders like they're 35
Oh,
yarders.
dude, in Denver, you get an extra 7 or 8 yards easy.
Yeah.
If it's a warm day, that ball flies.
Right.
Man.
All right. Well, I think that's all we got for you, Josh.
Yeah.
It's been really
Thanks for
interesting.
coming on, Josh. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I know you're busy right before the NFL. Hey, who's your sleeper pick for Jacksonville?
Don't answer this. Actually, do answer it because I think I'm the pick ahead of Sal. So.
Any receivers that Foles is targeting that he likes a little bit more than someone else?
Oh, gosh. Dude, I tell you what. Hey, we already touched on I'm not the X's and O's guy. I just see ball.
You're right.
Yeah, if you guys read Bleacher Report, then you know as much about the team as I do.
There you go.
That. That's why I want to become a kicker right there, because just go kick your kicks and
have your cigar and your
pretty much.
Golf.
I had one of my teammates when I was still in San Diego. He comes up to me during OTAs. We had just gotten back off the break. He comes up to me. He's like, "Man, Lambo, I gotta tell you something, man. I was thinking to myself the other day, who's our kicker?" And I'm just like, why are you telling me that to my face? And he's like,
no respect.
How many game winning kicks have you missed? I said, none. He's like, I don't got to think about you. You're automatic. You're fine. That's why I didn't know who you were. I was like, what?
They only know the bad things that kickers do. That's great.
But seriously, if you go unnoticed, you are doing your job.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, dude. Well, congratulations again on the new contract, and good luck this season with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't want you to do better than my Ravens, but I hope you do well in your division.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on.
For sure. Thank you.
Man, that was pretty interesting. A lot of stuff I think that we usually go over with MLS guys and soccer players, we're kind of familiar with, and so it's interesting to hear from a guy that plays a completely different sport in a different league, and it's a different setup. And so I thought a lot of that stuff was interesting, especially his regimen throughout the week during the NFL season.
Yeah, it was a lot more. What surprised me was how detailed, it was for him. I mean, he knew everything to where exactly to hit the ball, the sound the ball should make, what part of the ball to hit. It was very technical, and I guess if you just have one job, you kind of can focus on that. But
it's funny because like I said, we watch some of these like Hard Knocks and All or Nothings, and that there's a lot of meetings, for the offensive and defensive teams. But I feel like for a kicker, dude, all you got to know is just kick the damn ball straight, right? And so it's funny still how precise his day-to-day activities are, and like what he has to participate in, what he does in training, how many kicks he has to do each day, and all that stuff. And so, it's a very specifically coached sport. That's like the sense that I got from it.
Yeah, on the defensive and offensive days, I could imagine him being on a separate field goal, just kind of hitting some or practicing kickoffs. But I'd imagine it would be kind of like almost like what a third string goalie would do in the MLS, where you kind of train off to the side, and then when they kind of need you to join in with the team, they'll bring you in from a farther field, and they got to kind of jog in and do a kickoff play or something like that, and then they're done, right?
When are you going to go try out for a team, dude?
Hey, soon. I if you look at my Instagram, Josh gave a little shout out, so who knows, man? I got to start sending it to scouts. I'll start sending VCR tapes to scouts.
You got to open up the pathway for me for when I retire in a couple of years. So I could.
Carly Lloyd might start
that's not
that.
a bad gig, honestly. I mean, if you can kick them, then I mean it's not a difficult lifestyle to lead, and you make some pretty good money. So as long as you can deal with the pressure.
Yeah, if you can deal with the pressure, and I think if you devote, talk to maybe a top kicking coach, someone that can kind of straighten you out in a few months, I think you could do it.
Yeah, so we should try it, bro. We should try it. Anyways, as always, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, DL or stream on TuneIn, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play. Rate and comment on Instagram and Twitter. Continue emailing us your thoughts on Benny Sal, the podcast at Gmail. And always with the questions as well, Plead the Fifth. They're getting better and better every time, and becoming more difficult for our guests to not plead the fifth. So that's great from our guests, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, guys, and if you want any gear, we have some logos created in our bio. So if you want any shirts, I mean, keep sending us those Instagrams or what is it, tweets?
Yeah,
the
pictures.
tweets keep coming in.
A lot of people have been putting pictures up, and we love
pretty
it.
cool to see. We'll retweet them. So send us anything you guys got.
All right, guys, that's all we got for you guys today. Thanks for showing up, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.